Hey, I'm Tanya H. Franklin, and welcome to Tricks My Dog Taught Me, a podcast for lighthearted and occasional deep conversations with family and friends revolving around my journey as a dog mom to my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle, which prompted me to self publish my first book, Shit My Dog Taught Me, where I share some of my insights through poetry and weekly life lessons. For today's episode, it'll be all about week 16's poem, Size Does Not Matter. And with this in mind, I invited who I believe to be the perfect guest, my younger cousin, who's always had a little sass, with a big personality since she was a little girl, Brittany Eubanks. So, yes, thank you for agreeing to be my guest today, Britt. It's awesome to have you here with me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh,
I love to
absolutely.
talk. That's my thing.
Well, this would be good. This should be good. So, as I mentioned, Zach is a toy poodle. And while he's not as tiny as a Chihuahua or a teacup Yorkie, he's still considered a small breed. And, but just like you, Brittany, he's got a big personality. So before getting into the conversation, I just want to share the poem, which is actually a haiku with you and the listeners, just to give you some context. Size does not matter. No matter the size, your hopes and dreams do matter. Be prepared to fight. So I love haikus because they're relatively short, but they can be poignant at the same time. And so, I have so many hopes, dreams, goals, some big and some small. And while they all matter, I've been guilty of minimizing my accomplishments when it's something that I believe to be small. But then I realized that those so-called small accomplishments and goals, they've helped me get to the big ones. And, okay, so for instance, I used to say that I would never be able to do a pull-up because I just didn't have the upper body strength.
Okay.
So, yeah, and so my first step was to
Mhm.
stop saying that I would never be able to master the pull-up, and then
For
from
sure.
there and I did have a trainer who helped me along the way with
Mhm.
just doing hangs, just hanging on to the pull-up bar, then doing negatives and using resistance bands, and even though the progress was slow or small, I did feel really good as I was going through all of these steps. And when I finally did one pull up, I was completely overjoyed. Now I'm up at about 5.
Wow.
And I mean, that's if I haven't done anything else.
Okay.
So, yeah, but for me, it's confirmed that sometimes we have to take small steps to achieve the big accomplishment. I mean, even with my book that I self-published, it started off as just a small idea.
Mhm.
And then I created a timeline, chiseled away at it to get to the finished product. And, now I'm using it as the basis for doing a podcast to have great conversations and learn and grow from them. So I'm wondering, what's a big goal or accomplishment that you've had that might have started off with small steps?
I would say for me, it was a career transition.
Mm,
So, I graduated from CCP with a, associate's degree, kind of wanting to go into the healthcare services, but then, you know, um, while I don't mind hugging people, the intimate stuff, not for me. So I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'm not sticking you with anything anywhere. Nope, nope, nope. So, so during my time in retail, I was like, I just really like to be kind of like that um advocate for people, like, okay, now no, this is not the rule, so we're not going to do it this way. So that kind of blossomed my want for my career in the HR realm.
mm.
So I kind of eased my way into it with also not going back to school because I didn't want that those student loans again. So I kind of eased my way into HR by going back and starting like my career transition. I went actually to a retail store and was in their HR department there, and then went to kind of build on my HR career from there. So I think that was it. I think I've always been that kind of like advocate where for people where it's just like that's not the rule, but also I can also tell people like this you know you were wrong for doing this, but this really is the
Mhm,
rule. So kind of like that in between person, I've always been like
mhm.
really good at of like seeing people like I can receive people's information, but I can also, tell them like I see where you're coming from, but no.
That's
Type of
definitely a
thing
good
too.
skill to have.
Yeah. So I think for me that is my biggest accomplishment just because I was able to achieve without going back to school and kind of just like using not only my personality but also just my knowledge of just, laws and things just to
Mhm.
to get there.
Awesome, awesome. So, I mentioned self-publishing my book and taking small steps, but full transparency, I was
Mhm.
sitting on that idea for a few years, like since Zach was a puppy and he's 5
Yeah.
now. And, I'm often juggling a lot with family, teen, fitness. Like someone from the outside looking in, they might say, "Oh, that's understandable that you backburnered that idea because, you got a lot going on." But I
Mhm.
don't think that was solely the reason for me not moving forward with it. There was a bigger reason, but before I reveal what it was for me, I'd love to get your take on why you think some people let the size of their goals, hopes, dreams stop or delay them from moving forward?
So I think one is fear, the fear of is it going to be successful? Is it not going to be successful? But then it's another thing of finding the motivation and also the time. As parents, we know those schedules, come first between the sports and the extracurriculars and, oh, this person's having a birthday party, okay, so, every weekend and it's just like, family stuff, it's just everything comes up and it's just when do you carve out the time for you? I think especially, in today's times where everything is so rushed, it's hard to take the time just to step back, especially when you're already in a career, to step back and take that time for you. So I think it's a lot of the time, it's time if people don't have the time as well.
Has this ever been an issue for you? Because you mentioned a little bit about just being a parent and having a career. Has this ever been an issue for you?
Time for sure. I mean, time
Hmm.
is always time is an obstacle in general for me. But as far as accomplishing goals, uh yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely. Just especially, when my oldest was younger, just because, we were so deep into like football and also, I was, working full time and, just finding the time to see like exactly what was my next level. I would just kind of be like complacent. Well, I'm just gonna stay here for right now. So
Hmm.
I think that was a big obstacle for me because after working, I mean, a lot of times it was overtime, there. So maybe 45 hours, like sometimes a week, and then going and, football practices multiple days a week. Then it's like baseball practice multiple days a week, and sometimes the season are overlapping. Yeah, that time, yeah, it did take I was exhausted by that. Then time for friends,
Hmm.
had to have time for fun too.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah,
and
definitely for
I
sure.
definitely understand that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, like for me, it definitely has been an issue. Like I was mentioning with the book, I think a lot of times I allow self doubt and second guessing get in the way. And it's only when my passion is bigger that I'm able to move forward. So I feel like my passion being bigger than my fears is what allowed me to say, "You know what? I'm going to do this." And I would also say that surrounding myself with people who are motivating me to move forward,
Mhm.
or even a support system, like you mentioned, sometimes you have to take care of tasks that are related to your children, and having a support system and people who are like, "Oh, I'll help you out with that." Or, "Oh, we got a carpool," or something like that, where they're like, "I know you have some things that you wanna do for yourself. You also wanna be there for your family," which is important. in offering you that balance, I'm going to help you out in that way. So I think that that's something that's helped me along the way is people who are just rooting for me, whether it's them just saying, "You got this," or them physically doing something to help me, you know?
Yeah,
This
no, for sure.
yeah, so when you're doing something that's big for you, like you mentioned, being able to make this transition into a human resources role, has someone, whether it be intentional or not, ever diminished it or made it seem like what you're doing is small? I mean, it might be related to that or even something else, and you're all excited. You're like, "Oh, I'm doing this and that," and they're like, "Oh, no, that's all you're doing?"
Oh, this is a tough one. Um, haven't had anyone really diminish anything, but also if they did, I probably would have just forgot about it. And it's honestly anyway, just
That's
because of
good.
my personality, I'm like, okay, like whatever. Like, and it's just like, you know, I don't know. Like I don't think I haven't personally experienced it, but like, especially when not definitely not career wise, but I'm just trying to think of anything else like that I have done where people are like, I think also I mean, Tanya, like, we have that super like poking fun, joking side of the family, with my mom
Mhm.
and me and, and, my sister. So, and my dad. So, like, for us, it's just like, we have that where we kind of like nitpick, but joking with each other, but like giving like the truth to each other. So, I think for me, just because we are just so transparent and just like honest and just like, just spew out our opinions and thoughts and um I think when going through the process, everything is kind of always brought up, whether it's what's going to be the good, what's going to be the bad, what's going to be the troublesome parts of, the process. But I don't think once we got through that, I wouldn't say that there has been a time where I have any naysayers. They probably were like, well, you're doing too much with this one, so you maybe need to pivot here, or, like, oh,
Mhm.
slow down right here because, focus needs to. So I think, having that, like you said, that support in the middle, I think once you get to the other side, yeah, and I like you said, I just don't surround myself with people that don't, kind of I can't support them 100% and they can't
Mhm.
support me 100%.
Mhm.
So, I would say I haven't really had
That's
those
good,
experiences.
that's good. Unfortunately, I can't say the same, but something I just wanna point out is that you mentioned with family and how sometimes they might poke fun and things of that nature. And I love how sometimes we can count on family to give us that nudge where we might, and not so much that you're doing something that you believe to be big and they're diminishing it and trying to make you feel small, but at the same time they're like, "Now, Brittany, we know you could do more." And you're
Yeah.
like, "Well," and so I mean, I think in that way that's great because they see something in you that you might not see in yourself. So, but what I'm talking about is, and this has happened to me, it hasn't happened with this podcast yet, but when I recorded
No,
a
don't say yet,
podcast
Tanya. That's
with,
negativity. No, it never
oh,
would have
you're
happened.
so right.
Don't say yet.
You
Don't
are
say yet.
so right. Good to, and I am one who tries my best to follow that too. So you are absolutely right. It has not happened. It will not happen.
It will not happen.
But when I was recording the podcast with my best friend for 3 years, and we were doing it during the pandemic, and then
Mhm.
when we were coming out of the pandemic and we were still recording, and I would encounter some people who they weren't like close friends in my circle, but still
Mhm.
I was friendly with them. I had interactions with them and they would say, "Oh, yeah, so you're still doing your little podcast?" Now, maybe they didn't mean anything by little,
Mhm.
but at
Yeah.
the same time, I didn't say to them, "What you trying to say?" But in
Yeah.
my mind, I was just like, "That's kind of a backhanded compliment, isn't it? To say something is a little oh,
Yeah.
I heard you got a little, like if you got a promotion, I heard you got your little promotion." And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I did. And you're wondering, why'd you
Yeah.
refer to it as little or
Yeah.
cute? Some people might say,
Oh.
"Oh, yeah, so I heard you, publish this little cute book you got." And I'm like, "Ah, yes."
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'll say, "Well, thank you." But at the same time, the wheels start turning and I'm wondering,
Yeah.
was that oh, were they purposely trying to diminish me and what I am happy about? And then I started thinking maybe this doesn't have anything to do with me and it's their own shortcomings because oftentimes when a
Mhm.
person will say little something or cute this, they don't have anything that's necessarily going on. And it's not a matter of me saying I'm trying to one up anyone, but then I start wondering, well, you're not necessarily doing this. It takes, to me, it takes a lot of courage to be able to do a lot of different tasks, especially to put yourself in a public setting.
Yes.
And when someone references it as little or cute, then
Yes.
it makes me say, well, I guess that's about you. And I'm excited and I'm happy. So I'm going to just keep moving on with it. So,
I think also, like I said, I would just forget about it in those moments. So I think because Tanya, we all know you're the nice one, you're the sweet one when it comes to us and all us cousins. And like you said, I'm the sassy one. So you would have said, they would have said, oh, are you still doing your little podcast? I'm like, oh, you still driving that little car, like. So it's just like, and then it's just like at the end, it just rolls off my back because you said what you wanted, I said what I wanted. And it's
hmm
like whatever, I wouldn't, give my opinion about, your life any other time or anybody else's life. But like if you said something to me, I'm gonna say something back and then it's over with to me. So
hmm
that's why I said for
hmm
me, I probably would have like I may have like thought about it like that day, but after that it's like I said what I wanted to back. So whatever.
Mhm, mhm. And I will admit this,
Hmm.
sometimes when that happens, I
Hmm.
use it as a way to encourage me where I say, "You know what? They think it's little. It's gonna be even bigger than they could ever think."
Yeah.
So,
Watch me
I
now.
try to I yes, exactly. I'm like, "Oh, you think it's little? Okay." And it's not a matter of me trying to prove them wrong or anything like
Oh.
that, but just using it as a way to say, "They're taking notice."
Yes.
And in taking notice, that's great. So I'll take
Hmm.
it. Whether you say
Yeah.
it's little or not, I will take it. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
okay, so I want to shift gears for a moment. Even though the poem it's saying that size does not matter, we got to talk about the elephant in the room or the dog in the room, especially since you brought up cousins, because I'm 5'11". If you don't mind sharing, what's your height, Brittany?
Yep, I'm a whole foot shorter than you. I'm 4'11".
4'11". So we're almost opposites in that regard. And if I had to label myself based on stature, I would consider myself tall,
Mhm.
especially compared to other women. But instead of me labeling you, I want to know how you would define your stature.
I'm tall. What do you mean? It's like, no, can I? The thing is that even if I didn't feel like I was short, don't worry. Everybody else has called me short my entire life. In high school, they used to call me Python size. So it's just like I know I'm shorter, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and like for me as a tall person, I've been asked, "Do you play basketball, volleyball?" And occasionally when I was younger, I was asked if I model, so I'll take that one. It flattered me.
Oh.
But I'm just wondering what questions you were asked, and I'll use the word and use as a short person or pint-sized person.
Let's see. Oh, you know what? This is a story from high school, so you love this one. And it is not a question. It was like a direct insult. So, in Philly we don't have like, buses how there is in the county. So actually catch SEPTA, to high school. So a few streets down were twin boys and they were also shorter. They're like about like 5'2". So the The bus arrives, it's me and the 2 boys that get on the bus, and the bus driver just turns and looks. This is the true Philly moment right here. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know we were making a stop in Munchkinland." So, but I'm not a person that's easily offended. So I laughed. I don't know if the boys are offended. I mean, I've seen them all the time. Just, catching public transportation. I didn't know them personally, but, like, we just, would see each other at the bus stop. But so, those are the type of things that, you just encounter and you just kinda learn to kinda just, like, deal with it. Or, I'm also like you said, house size doesn't matter, but, like, for me, I'm the person that you'll see climbing the shelves in a grocery store because I need to get something up top. I'm gonna climb. I'm not gonna ask for help. Excuse me a few times, look around. If no one comes, I'm climbing. But as far as I get it all the time. I grew up with it. Even my youngest says I'm gonna only 7, but I'm gonna be taller than you soon. You sure will, girl. It's just something that you just kind of, eventually kind of. I mean, I know from being tall, learning to do it. It's like
Mhm.
we're at the opposite, like you said, at the opposite ends of the height spectrum.
Yes.
So, just something that you just learn to deal with. But yeah, so yeah, that's the one that probably has stuck with me throughout life with him saying that, like,
Mm,
oh yeah, we stopped
mm,
at
mm,
Munchkinland. So,
mm.
you know,
And I could definitely see how why that stuck with you. I mean, sometimes it bothers me when a person associates my attributes solely to my height or build. And I
mhm,
remember one time I was going to a scholarship dinner at my college, and at the front door when they were giving you where you were gonna be seated, they automatically assumed that I was gonna be at the sports table, and they're like, "Oh,
uh,
so are you basketball or volleyball scholarship?" And when I said that I was there on an academic scholarship, I saw the person's facial expression, and they were like, oh, okay." And I didn't know if they were embarrassed or if they just were like, "You sure you don't play a sport with that
mhm,
height?" And so
mhm,
it I wasn't totally offended, but I wished that my intellect was recognized and not just my height. Uh, Even if they said, "Oh, are you on 2 scholarships?" or something like that. So, I mean, you mentioned the incident with the bus driver. Have you had anyone ever ask you questions that you found to be offensive or make certain assumptions about you in relation to your height?
not assumptions, but um I've recently had encouragement by a certain sister, which I know you know who I'm talking about, that'll be like, "Oh, I think you might be qualified for a handicap placard."
Mm, mm,
So, I'm like, so, but, other than that, I wouldn't have any, like, direct oh, wait, people always assume I'm younger, of course. So,
mhm,
that
mhm.
is always what, especially in my 20s, people always thought I was like, like a super like a young child, like probably maybe like 15 or 16. Like when I was in my 20s, they would say like, "Oh yeah," they're like, "Oh, like where's your mom?" And like, "Hello."
Mhm. Or, I mean, imagine being accosted if you didn't have a license on you and you're accosted by, like, a truancy officer or something. They're like, "We
Oh,
know you're
I was
supposed to
before.
be
I
in."
forgot about that. That was what, yeah, that did happen to me before I had a car. Yeah, when I was working, catch the bus, because I still had to go through, Borden Island and everything to catch the bus. So yeah, a truancy officer did approach me before, and I'm like, I'm an adult. So,
They're like, "Prove it."
yeah,
We've heard
that's
that one before.
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that one before. I think also for me, what I realized is that once I became older and more comfortable with myself, I felt like those situations kind of like diminished. I guess I, just started to like walk with more confidence, maybe, or like let my personality shine a little bit more. From going to like my early 20s into like my later 20s into now my 30s. So now I feel like those things have kind of like lessened a lot with, at least as far as being called a child. I don't know what anybody says any other time, but
Mhm.
at least people think I'm a kid.
And that's funny that you say that because, I mean, the inspiration is Zach as a toy poodle, and if only he could talk, I'm sure he would wanna tell some of these people who come up and like, "Oh, look at the little puppy, he's so cute." I'm sure he was, "I'm not a puppy, I'm a grown dog." But so many people, especially children, they always think he's a
The
puppy,
puppy.
and he just goes with it, he's still wagging his tail, but I
Yeah.
do wonder if he's like he wants to say, "I'm a grown dog. I am not a puppy. But if it'll get me stuff, then I'll be a puppy."
He's like all the field.
Yes.
"Yeah, just pet me. That's fine. Just pet me."
Mhm, mhm. Now, I know this is not a problem for you, but I
Mhm.
want you to do me a favor and
Mhm.
imagine always being in the back row for class pictures, even family pictures, cousin pictures,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
thinking that you said people think you're younger, people thinking that you're older than you are when you were a
Mhm.
child. I mean,
Mhm.
you mentioned the septibus. I remember my mom and I was of age to be able to get on the septibus for free, but
Mhm.
with my height, oftentimes the septibus driver would question it. And so
Mm.
my mom would always say, "I want you to hunch over a little when
Oh.
you get on the bus." I don't feel like going through the whole saying how old you are and all this stuff, and I'm like even in restaurants and "How old are you?" when I was younger with the kids menu, and I'm looking like I'm 13, but I'm only 10 or 9 or something, and the good thing is I wasn't developed, so
Yes.
that worked to my advantage, but, I mean, I've been in situations even of course in adulthood just being hesitant about wearing shoes that have any type of heel on it because
Mhm.
of my height, and so this was my experience. You mentioned about your experience in your high school years, younger, and even into your 20s, elementary school, middle school, even high school, and I wasn't just tall and thin, and so, some kids, mainly boys, would call me a toothpick, bony, a beanpole. They'd say I could hula hoop Cheerios or something. They'd have some joke about
Mhm.
me because I'll never forget this one time, this guy that I liked, and he told me I would be cute if I wasn't so tall.
Sure. What?
And I'm just wondering, have you ever felt bullied because of your size or height?
Um, let's see. Not I wouldn't say bully, but I've been put in uncomfortable situations. Like, um, for instance, a lot of people think because of my height, it's okay to kind of just like reach over me. I don't think people realize that sometimes, some people you might have like a little older, but also it's just so comfortable, the proximity, just you reaching over me. So I would say that is probably like the biggest thing, especially like if I'm standing somewhere and someone needs something, they'll just like kind of just go, and I'm like, you wanna say, "Excuse me? I can move, like, I can step to the side." Um, so I would say that is probably, like, the biggest thing for me, just, like, the reach over, like I said, everybody always, you know, poke fun at me being short, so I think it's something that I just learned to just, like, accept as a part of my life,
Mhm. And
like
and
growing
not to
pains,
just yeah, not
but
to justify that
Mhm.
behavior at all, but do you
Yeah.
think that they're assuming that you're a child and that they think that, "Oh, let me this kid's in my way." And like I said, I don't think that's right whether they think that you're a child or not.
No, I mean, it happens till present day, so no, I wouldn't think that.
Mm.
I wouldn't think that. I just think that people, like you said, you can get a sense for people if they're, coming from a positive spirit or a negative spirit. So, somebody that, is just, and I don't know if it's a mood for the day. I don't know if this personality, but like they'll kind of like try to do like a reach over or kinda like let like size kinda like, intimidate. I feel like most of my time, I haven't like ruled like public transportation in forever, but most of my time did come from, riding, public transportation where as though, people would just, just make it. men, I should say, would stand like really close because I was smaller, maybe, and just like be like I said, it's just like uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable situations where they would just like stand close or like stand kind of like over top of me. You know how like on the bus, how it was like the pole, but then it was also that bar going
Mhm.
across the top. Or like I will be holding onto the pole and they'll just like and like in a really crowded bus, they'll just stand right in back of me, like and holding the bus. Like, why are
Mm.
you standing like right there? Like, no, like there are plenty of places. So I would have to like kind of like reposition myself so that way they're not like, right in back of me. So I would say situations like that is where I kind of more so had to defend myself, but I wouldn't say a bullying situation.
Mhm.
Like I said, just
That's
like
good
kind of like
because
the
you have that
retreat.
sass, so, even if someone was coming for you, you have the sass on your side, so because 'cause I'm just thinking that in younger years, if you have someone who's towering over you, you could hold your own, so and they knew it.
Yeah, I think also for me, I feel like a lot of that bullying starts in like that middle school and like kind of
Mhm.
like phase. But I think because I went to like private schools up until 8th grade, so it's like my classes were like super small, so it wasn't too much bullying going on in like nursery through 8th. And then in my high school, it's like everybody kind of was in their own little like kind of like cliques and groups. You know, it- it's just like not too much occurred.
That's good, that's good,
Mhm.
that's good. So, you mentioned that you used to work in retail, and I love to shop, and you probably know this from working in retail that most stores do not cater to tall women.
I know.
And not to mention my shoe size. I know when you were at Nordstrom Rack,
Mhm.
I could
Mhm.
never find anything. Never. And if I did find anything in my shoe size, it was always the ugly things like that
I
nobody
know.
wants. And so it's like, yeah, my shoe size goes along with my height, so I'm good with that. But finding tons of clothing and footwear choices in most department stores rarely happens for me, so I predominantly shop online. And I mean, unless I don't mind wearing high waters, then
Oh, no.
uh but I mean it upsets me because men have big and tall stores, but I don't think there's a place for tall women. And I'm wondering, even though you're on the other end, if you ever have issues with finding clothing that fits you the way that you want.
Yes. So, being on the shorter end, it's interesting because I know the jeans that flare are back now, but they were super popular in high school. So, and then it was this pair of it was this jean set that my mom had purchased me, Rockaware jean set where it had the Rockaware signature at the bottom of the jeans. But the problem is that all my jeans in high school, because they flared out, my mom took to the cleaners to be cut. So she paid for this Rockaware set for Christmas, took it to the cleaners. They had to cut off the the Rockaware in order for me to
You're like,
fit
"That's
it.
the part that I wanted."
Exactly. So it's the opposite end. Now, where it did work to my benefit a wee bit in like my early, like in my 20s, was a lot of times I could go and get like kids stuff. So I could get like kids clothes. So like my stuff was like a little bit cheaper. But other than that, no, it is still is very, very hard for me to find. It's funny, just even I think it was yesterday I had on these pair of sweatpants that I had ordered online. And I didn't mind them being like super baggy, but I guess they looked really bad because, at first was like, he was like, "Are those my pants?" I'm like, "No, they're not your pants." No. So it's just like because they were super long and like I had to like I wore them around the house, but I'll run out to like pick up Avery from school, but like I'll like have to like pull them up as I'm walking and stuff. But I don't mind it. But it's just it is harder to find jeans that fit like bright or even like sweatpants or different things. So a lot of the times I don't like to try on in stores, so I'm a purchase, try on at home and then return.
Mhm.
So, yes, definitely pants wise, it is hard to find things that do what they're supposed to do. Oh, especially like kind of this like the midi skirts. There's no midi for me. They hit the ankle every time. Every time they hit the ankle.
So
so,
you ha do you take them to
no,
the cleaners or you just stay away?
stay away most of the time. I mean, I think there are a little bit more options for the short options. I know a lot of the times a lot of stores will have short options like
Mhm.
online. Like if I see a jean in store, I may be like, okay, check online for like the short option. So I think that has been getting a little bit better, especially from when like my teen years, because that wasn't a thing. Like finding like the short option, or it would kind of be like how it is for you. Like the tall section and like the petite section would be like kind of like kind of like for like the little old lady, like like really like floor like super like florally frumpy, kind of like things. And it's like nobody wants to wear that red blazer with those yellow
Mhm.
flowers on it. So that type of thing, yeah.
It's good to know that I mean, not good it's not good for you, but good to know that I'm in good company even
Yeah.
on both ends that we're having that struggle, you know? I mean, I know that for me, not being able to find my size and that struggle, it's a constant reminder that I'm not average and that I'm different. And
Mhm,
while you mentioned being able to embrace this as you've gotten older, I definitely have as well. But it was
mhm,
still a struggle. Yeah,
mhm,
like I mentioned with the pictures that we take, our cousin pictures, that I'm clearly the tallest, and which makes me feel like I'm sticking out like a sore thumb. And you usually are front center as one of the shorter. And I'm just wondering, have you ever struggled with your height or just felt different? Like if you are in, like when you're hanging out with your friends or you're with family, obviously not now. I won't say obviously, maybe it is now, but it seems that you embrace it more so now. But in going through your journey of coming to embrace it, have you ever felt different because you are shorter than the average woman?
I mean, if I felt different, it's always been a good thing. So
That's
for me,
good.
I've always been the person that likes to stand out. I also think is my Aquarius nature also that we like to just be different. We don't like to be the same as anyone else. So for me, I always, I'm the person that if everybody's wearing blue, they're like, oh yeah, we're wearing blue today. I'm like, no, I'm wearing red. Um, so that has been my thing. Like I've just always been like, kind of like going like the opposite way, like it intentionally. So I think if I've ever felt different, I've loved it just because it's just like I don't want to be like anybody else. I like to be, me. I like to be different. I like to I think because and maybe that is why. You know what? Now I'm thinking about it in this conversation.
Mm.
So maybe that is why. Maybe because I'm so short, I like to be able to stand out. So for me, no, it has never bothered me with it. I've I've I think I like being different. So
That's
yeah.
good.
Mhm,
Yeah, and I mean, even just you saying that, I've gotten to the point myself, like I mentioned about wearing heels. I've
mhm.
gotten to the point where I feel comfortable in wearing them. Luckily, Sean, my husband, Sean, he's tall, so I can wear heels and then we might be the same height. Sometimes I will tower over him just by a couple of inches if depending on the height of the hills, but I've gotten comfortable with that and owning it and feeling good about it. Now, you on the other hand, I want to ask you this question and just try your best to give me the honest answer. Do people ever feel, cuz you seem to, I won't say you have a type, but uh you are with your significant other is how tall?
6'3".
6'3", which actually taller than Sean. So Sean's 6'1", so 6'3".
6'3".
Do you ever have a situation where people are like, why are all the short women taking all the tall guys? Like, so someone like me, if I'm I think I'm not trying to say that I've been with Sean for quite a long time now, like 26 years now. But I know that I automatically ruled out people who were shorter than me, not because I didn't like them. I just assumed they wouldn't want to date me, that they would want someone who is their height or shorter. So that from the female perspective, if you're dating someone who is even like more than a foot taller, do you
Yeah.
have that situation where women are like, there's no tall guys out here, and then you come along and take one?
So it's funny because I think for a while, his family didn't realize how short I was because a lot of times I wore heels. I wore like something like with some type of heel. They knew I was short, but they just didn't know how short I was. So it's funny because I think it was until maybe I was pregnant with Avery that we were leaving his mom's house one time, and then we were leaving out the door at the exact same time, and she was just like, I just realized how short you were. It was that instant. But, for the most part, I get see, as far as dated, I've dated people of all different heights, but, like, as far as dated and taken serious, like, I think that's a different thing. But, no, I have heard that how are you guys especially when we first started dating, like, "How are you guys together?" Like, "He's so tall," and I'm just like, "Yeah, he's tall." And to be honest, I've always liked taller guys, and so I think that, I did people have said that. I've heard those comments before, like, "Oh, like, you're so short, like, why?" And I'm just saying, "Why not?"
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Mhm. And
sure.
and it's one of my guilty pleasure shows to watch on YouTube is Pop the Balloon. And oftentimes there are women on there who's like, "I want a guy that's at least 6'5". I'm like, "Get out of here."
I
And it's
know, and
usually this petite woman like, "I want a guy that's 6'5". I'm like, "Come on. Is that fair?" So, yeah, and it'll be a guy who's taller than her. Maybe he's 5'8".
Yeah,
And she's just like, "No, you're not tall enough." And I just said, "Poor guy." It's a
I
shame,
know.
because, our genetics, they determine our height, and there's not much we can do about that. And,
No.
I
Yeah.
mean, so I know sometimes we move differently, but I try my best to not let my height determine my ability. Do you think that you ever let your height or size determine your ability? You kind of touched on this already a little bit when you said that you were willing to climb up a shelf to get the item.
Say, no, I'm trying to think, have I let it hinder me? N I haven't let it hinder me, but I've used it to my ability to especially, well, thank goodness I don't work for Nordstrom anymore. But like certain times where it's just like I would find myself just because we have so much inventory, and I was inventory manager, just trying to get out of small spaces. Like I would literally squeeze through this little hole to get out of get out of this thing like boxes or something. But as far as things that I feel like I can't do, I would say when I first started driving, I was, maybe intimidated to drive, something bigger, but then my dad taught me in his truck. So it's like then it's just kind of that kinda went out the window. I wanna say I've never felt like I wasn't tall enough to do anything, no. I just felt like, I think there's always been, some type of figuring it out, just because I had to, whether it is, even now, honestly, like you said, with the height difference between me and Sharif, like now it's just he'll call us rearranging the cabinets, and I'm like, no, you can't, because I have to use a step stool to get here, and it's like that type of thing. But no, I just think I figure it out whether I have to climb or stack some things on top of each other, or even one time I used to which our grandmom used to do. put a pillow down when driving so that way you can see over the steering wheel. So, I've had experiences where I've driven
Just
certain
like
cars where I had to put a pillow in the seat. Grandma Ruth did that. She
I
used to put my mom.
remember.
She had a pillow in her seat. So yeah, we had so that was a thing. I would say that was probably my biggest challenge was if I had to pick one was probably like just being able to see and navigate. And it's funny, even till this day, when I was shopping for new cars, my dad came with me. And he said that the car that was I forgot what car it was, but he was like, I don't like it. You can't see the front of it. So I'm like, you can see the front of cars, like when you're driving. I'm like, you can see the front of. I said, you can see the front of your car. He was like, I can see the front of every car I drive. I'm like, what is that like? So it's like, for me, I can see like the top of the hood. That's it for every single car I've ever had. I've never been able to see like just. I guess I just parallel park on a wish and a prayer because I can't see the front of any car I drive at any moment. So yeah, but that's my biggest struggle. I guess will be driving aspect.
Sure,
Still
and that's
risk it
but
anything though.
you haven't allowed that to stop you, which is great because I'm sure there's some people who would say, "Well, I guess I just won't learn how to drive, or I guess I won't drive, or I won't drive a truck, or I won't drive this type of vehicle." So, I think that's awesome, though. I mean, for me, I would say size might mean that I just need to move differently,
Yeah.
or it might just play a role in how I operate, but I don't think it determines fully my ability. I think that a lot of times if we're passionate or determined, like if you were determined to get your license, you're like, "Hey, this
Yeah.
is going to happen,"
Yep.
then that's going to be what determines your ability. So I got
Mhm.
to make an association back to exercise in doing squats. So in doing barbell squats, first you have this barbell on your back, on your shoulders, these heavy plates on there depending how you're lifting it, and that alone can be tough. But getting down low, there's some people who I see, they get down so low, it's almost like their butts touching the floor. That's how low they get in this squat.
All right.
Excuse me. My height, that's very difficult to
Okay.
do. The average height person, someone who's short, they can do it. And a lot
Mm.
of times when I see videos of women who post them, more times than not, they are either average height women or they are shorter. They might even be 4'11". I don't usually see someone who's my height getting all the way down, but I said, "You know what? That's not going to stop me." So I practice a lot of mobility movements and perhaps and one strategy that one of my friends told me is just don't stack as many plates on there and you'll be able to get down and over time you can load
Work
more
yourself.
weight on
Mhm.
if you're trying to get down like some of these other people are doing. And so that's certainly something that for me, it's difficult just because it takes me more time. I mean, I have more leg to get down there and to get back up. So it's something that I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to let my height stop me from being able to do this. So, yeah, for sure. So, before we wrap up, here's one last question for fun. Dog breeds, they come in all
Ready.
shapes and sizes. So I'm wondering if you were a dog, what breed would you be and why?
Oh, okay. So I thought about this one really good. Well, so here is my. I want to take you through my thought process. While I'm not a pet owner, I did spend a lot of time, especially summers growing up at Aunt Debbie's. So with that, and also just me, loving everything larger in life because of my size being small, I did some research on the temperament of her, which was my favorite of her dogs growing up, which was Brutus. So And so Brutus is a bull mastiff. Well, was a bull mastiff, passed on. But so Brutus was a bull mastiff. So, but here's the thing with the breed. So while they are gentle giants, which I am, I feel like I'm very nice
You're a
person.
gentle giant.
Yeah, very nice person, but also, like you said, that sassiness comes out, and I feel like especially, I he Brutus was definitely one of those like protective dogs. So definitely, I am a big protector. Like I am the biggest barker. Because I'm talking about dogs. So I'm the biggest barker when it comes to if I feel like it's something is going wrong with, family, kids, Sharif, like I'm the one, where they're like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, no, it is a big deal. What do you mean? Like, so it's like I'm that person. So I think that because I am the biggest protector. So that's why I picked because, of course, while I would love to be tall, I'm not, but I do love, everything tall and big and large. I
Mhm.
would pick the bull mastiff, so that's what I would
Awesome,
be.
awesome. So, what dog breed do you think I would be and why?
Ooh, let's see. I feel like you would be so my decision is based off of a cartoon. So
Okay.
I just think of I think of which you can relate because you have what I think of a poodle, but a full size poodle. Also because my everything goes with the childhood for me. My neighbor across the street growing up, he was the elderly guy on the block, and he had this poodle. He took everywhere. The poodle was the most like just well tempered dog I've ever like seen in life. But also like it just said so nice, so poised. Um, the dog always rode in, like, the front seat of his car and just sat there, didn't bother, didn't do anything, didn't waver. So, while, I know you felt uncomfortable at times because of your height, but like I said, I love everyone tall. Like, that's just, I think it's 'cause, like, the opposite ends, like, oh, like, I'm like amazed. But, like, that's always what I kinda like thought, and I know we never had this conversation before, but I like that's kinda like what I always thought of like, people that are tall and things, especially like for you. It's just like it comes with a certain perception of poise. Like, like when you're
Mm.
taller, just, because you are standing, literally out from the crowd. So it's just like maintaining like that certain level of poise. And then because, like you're so nice and I just feel like, it's just, kinda just like a certain, like, level of, like, sophistication you do present as well. So that's why I think that you're, like, that type of poodle and back to the cartoon, so I was thinking I don't know if you remember that movie Oliver& and Company, but it was a poodle on there named Georgette. Now, while you're not, like, bougie like how she was, but she had that poise that that I think that you represent. That's
Oh,
why
thank
I would
you.
pick a
Thank you
poodle
so
with
much.
them.
I'll take that. So, just have to let you know, our cousin Alex also said poodle.
Did he?
Yes. So wow, that's cool. That is too cool. So Brittany, I really do wish that you were sitting across from me so I could give you a big hug for
Oh,
joining me today.
thank you.
This was really great, and I definitely don't consider this a small thing for you just giving. I got to bring that in there.
Yeah,
Giving me some
yeah,
of
of
your
course.
time. I mean, this was a big thing, and I definitely value you and I value your time. And I'm so glad that you were able to join me today.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you.
It was
So,
fun.
yes, yes, this was great. And I got to learn a little bit. So I love that. Yeah, so to you, the listener, thank you for listening. And when it comes to your hopes, your dreams, and your size, remember that size does not matter as long as you're going after those hopes and dreams. And I hope that you'll share this episode with your friends and family and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok and YouTube at Tricks My Dog Taught Me. Until next time, when I get into week 17's poem, Grounded in Fear, here's an inspiration from my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle. What truly counts is not how big your goals are, but simply having them to strive for. Take care, and I'll see you next week.